Atomic Habits by James Clear is a practical guide to building good habits, breaking bad ones, and mastering the tiny behaviors that lead to remarkable results. Clear explains that small incremental changes, atomic habits, compound over time to produce significant outcomes. The book introduces a four-step framework: cue, craving, response, and reward, and outlines 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Using real-world examples and scientific insights, Clear emphasizes the power of identity-based habits and the importance of consistency. The book is designed to help readers create lasting change by focusing on systems rather than goals. Summary of the fundamentals in Atomic Habits. In the fundamentals section of Atomic Habits, James Clear introduces the core philosophy behind the book. Small habits lead to big changes over time. He explains how tiny adjustments in behavior, what he calls atomic habits, can have a compounding effect, much like compound interest in finance. These small, consistent actions accumulate and eventually lead to remarkable improvements. Chapter 1: The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. Clear starts by emphasizing that major transformations are not the result of massive actions taken all at once, but rather the outcome of small, daily improvements. He uses the metaphor of an airplane changing its course by just a few degrees to demonstrate how small changes sustained over time can lead to significantly different outcomes. He also introduces the concept of the plateau of latent potential, the idea that results often lag behind efforts. People give up because they don't see immediate progress, but the key is to remain patient and consistent until a breakthrough occurs. Chapter 2: How Your Habits Shape Your Identity and Vice Versa. In this chapter, Clear explores the connection between habits and identity. He argues that lasting behavior change comes from identity change. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, outcomes, or even how you'll get there, process, Clear suggests starting with who you want to become, identity. For example, instead of aiming to read more books, one should aim to become a reader. Every habit you perform is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Identity-based habits create more meaningful and sustainable change because they are rooted in how you see yourself. Chapter 3: How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. Clear introduces the 4-step habit loop. 1. Cue. Triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. 2. Craving. The motivational force behind the habit. 3. Response, the actual behavior performed. 4. Reward, the benefit you gain reinforcing the habit. He distills this loop into the 4 laws of behavior change. 1. Make it obvious, cue. 2. Make it attractive, craving. 3. Make it easy, response. 4. Make it satisfying, reward. These laws serve as the structure for the rest of the book and provide a practical strategy for building good habits and breaking bad ones. Core message of the fundamentals. The central message of the fundamentals section is that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Clear encourages readers to shift focus from achieving goals to creating systems that support continuous improvement. While goals set the direction, systems are what make progress happen. By aligning habits with one's identity and focusing on small, consistent actions, individuals can unlock long-term transformation. This foundation sets the stage for the 4 main laws of behavior change, which are explored in detail in the rest of the book. Summary of Part 2, the first law: make it obvious. The second part of Atomic Habits introduces the first law of behavior change: make it obvious, which deals with increasing awareness of current habits and creating clear cues for new positive habits. Chapter 4, the man who didn't look right. James Clear opens this section with a story about a paramedic who saved a life by sensing that something was off with a patient. This highlights the power of the human brain to detect patterns unconsciously. In the same way, habits are often automatic, formed and reinforced through repetition. However, to change a habit, one must first be aware of it. Clear introduces the idea of a habits scorecard, a method for increasing awareness by listing your daily habits and rating them as positive, negative, or neutral. This helps make unconscious behaviors more visible so they can be changed. Chapter 5: The Best Way to Start a New Habit. This chapter explains the principle of implementation intention, which means creating a clear plan for when and where a habit will occur. For example, I will exercise at 6 a.m. in my living room. Research shows that specific plans greatly increase the likelihood of following through. Clear also introduces the technique of habit stacking, linking a new habit to an existing one. For instance, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 1 minute. This approach makes use of already established neural pathways to build new routines more effectively. Chapter 6, Motivation is Overrated. Environment Often Matters More. In this chapter, Clear argues that environment design is more powerful than motivation when it comes to building habits. Our behaviors are heavily influenced by visual cues and physical surroundings. By restructuring your environment, you can make the cues for good habits more obvious and the cues for bad habits less visible. For example, leaving a book on your pillow increases the chance you'll read before bed. Similarly, keeping junk food out of sight reduces the likelihood of snacking. Clear suggests that small changes in physical space can lead to big behavioral shifts. Chapter 7, The Secret to Self-Control. This chapter challenges the idea that self-control is the key to habit change. Instead, Clear explains that the best self-control is avoiding temptation altogether. He shares examples and research that show people who appear to have high self-control are often just better at structuring their environments to reduce friction for good habits and increase it for bad ones. Rather than relying on willpower, Clear advocates for proactively designing environments that reduce exposure to harmful cues. For example, if you're trying to reduce screen time, keep your phone in another room. The more friction you create around bad habits, the less likely you are to perform them. Key takeaways from Part 2. Awareness is the first step to change. You must recognize your habits before you can improve them. Clear cues and environmental triggers are powerful tools in habit formation. Don't rely on willpower. Shape your surroundings to support the behavior you want. Use techniques like implementation intentions and habit stacking to integrate new behaviors into your life. This part lays the groundwork for consciously shaping your behavior through visibility and clarity, turning the invisible into the obvious. The third part of Atomic Habits introduces the second law of behavior change. Make it attractive, which is based on the idea that we are more likely to adopt habits that are appealing and enjoyable. And James Clear explores how to make positive habits more enticing and negative habits less tempting. Chapter 8, How to Make a Habit Irresistible. In this chapter, Clear explains that habits are driven by cravings, not just cues. It's the desire created by the cue that motivates us to act. The more attractive a habit appears, the more likely we are to perform it. This is where temptation bundling becomes a useful strategy. Temptation bundling involves pairing a habit you want to build with an activity you already enjoy. For example, I will listen to my favorite podcast, Want, while running on the treadmill, Should. This technique builds anticipation and makes the habit more desirable by linking it to something pleasurable. Clear also introduces the concept of dopamine-driven feedback loops. When we anticipate a reward, dopamine spikes, driving motivation to act. It's not the reward itself, but the anticipation that creates the craving. Making a habit attractive works by tapping into that neurological reward system. You can also use motivational rituals, small routines that get you into the mood for your habit to build positive emotional associations around it. Chapter 9, The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. This chapter focuses on the powerful influence of social norms and peer pressure on habit formation. We tend to imitate the habits of three groups. 1, the close, family and friends. 2, the many, social groups or communities. 3, the powerful, people we admire or want to be like. Clear explains that if a behavior is normal in a group, we are more likely to adopt it. That's why joining a group where your desired behavior is the norm makes habit formation easier and more sustainable. For instance, if you want to get fit, surrounding yourself with people who prioritize fitness increases the chances that you'll stick with it. Social connection creates emotional rewards such as acceptance and belonging, which reinforce new habits. On the flip side, Being part of a community where a behavior is frowned upon can help discourage negative habits. Key takeaways from Part 3. Desire drives action. The more attractive a habit is, the more likely you are to repeat it. Use temptation bundling to pair habits you need to do with activities you enjoy. Dopamine spikes during anticipation, not just after rewards. Use that to your advantage by creating appealing cues. Your social environment shapes your behavior. Surround yourself with people who model the habits you want. Group identity is powerful. Joining a culture where your desired behavior is valued makes the habit more sustainable. By understanding how to make habits attractive, both neurologically and socially, Clear helps readers build positive routines that are harder to resist and more enjoyable to sustain. Summary of Part 4, the third law, make it easy. In this part, James Clear introduces the third law of behavior change, make it easy, emphasizing that repetition, not perfection, builds habits. The easier a behavior is to start and repeat, the more likely it is to stick. Chapter 10, walk slowly but never backward. Clear argues that taking action is more important than planning. Many people fall into the trap of motion instead of action. For example, researching workout routines, motion instead of actually working out, action. The key to building a habit is not perfection, but consistency. Repetition is what wires behaviors into the brain. The more often you perform a habit, the easier it becomes. Chapter 11, the law of least effort. Humans naturally gravitate toward the path of least resistance. That's why making habits as easy and frictionless as possible is crucial. Instead of relying on willpower, you should reduce the energy and steps required to perform a behavior. For example, preparing your gym clothes the night before makes it easier to start exercising in the morning. Clear recommends environment optimization, changing your surroundings so that good behaviors are easy and bad behaviors are hard. For instance, keeping healthy snacks in plain sight and putting junk food out of reach shifts your default behavior with less effort. Chapter 12, how to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. This chapter introduces one of the most effective techniques in the book, the 2-minute rule. It states that any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to do. The idea is to start small, so small that it's almost impossible to fail. Instead of saying read every night, start with read 1 page. Once the habit is started, it's easier to keep going. The goal isn't to do just 2 minutes forever, but to make starting the habit effortless. Momentum often follows. This helps combat procrastination and lowers mental resistance to beginning. Chapter 13, how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Here, Clear emphasizes the use of commitment devices, tools or choices that lock in future behavior. For example, prepaying for workout classes or using software that blocks social media during work hours. By making future bad behavior harder and good behavior easier, you take willpower out of the equation. Clear also talks about automation, like setting up automatic savings transfers or using a meal delivery service to streamline habits. The more you can automate, the more consistent your habits become. Key takeaways from Part 4. Don't aim for perfect habits. Aim for consistent ones. Start small and reduce friction. The easier the habit, the more likely it becomes routine. Use the 2-minute rule to lower resistance to starting new habits. Design your environment so the default action aligns with your goals. Use commitment devices and automation to lock in good habits and prevent bad ones. By making habits simple, Clear shows that long-term success isn't about willpower, it's about structure and ease. Habits should be so easy to start that they become automatic. Summary of Part 5, the fourth law, make it satisfying. In this section, James Clear presents the fourth law of behavior change, make it satisfying, which emphasizes the importance of immediate rewards in reinforcing good habits and discouraging bad ones. Human behavior is shaped more by what feels rewarding now than what is beneficial later. Chapter 15, the cardinal rule of behavior change. Clear explains the cardinal rule. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. Our brains are wired to prioritize instant gratification over long-term benefits. This presents a challenge for good habits, which often offer delayed rewards, e.g., better health or finances, while bad habits, e.g., junk food, procrastination, provide immediate pleasure. To overcome this, Clear suggests adding immediate satisfaction to good habits. For instance, tracking your habit on a calendar and seeing a visual streak can make the act feel rewarding. Even small celebrations like mentally congratulating yourself can create positive reinforcement. Chapter 16: How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day. This chapter introduces the strategy of habit tracking. Keeping a visual record, like crossing off days on a calendar or using an app, serves as both a cue and a reward. Habit tracking provides immediate satisfaction, encourages consistency, highlights your progress, creates a visual reminder that motivates you to continue. Clear also talks about the importance of not breaking the chain. If you miss a day, that's fine, but never miss twice. Missing once is a mistake. Missing twice is the start of a new bad habit. The key is quick recovery and staying consistent, not being perfect. Chapter 17: How an Accountability Partner Can Change Everything. In this final chapter of Part 5, Clear emphasizes the role of accountability in reinforcing habits. Knowing someone is watching or expecting you to follow through can dramatically increase your commitment. He recommends accountability partners, someone who checks in on your progress, habit contracts, written agreements that state your goals and the consequences if you fail. For example, a habit contract might state, if I miss 3 workouts in a row, I'll pay $50 to my friend. This creates immediate consequences and social pressure, both of which increase the stakes and boost follow-through. Key takeaways from Part 5. Immediate rewards are essential for reinforcing habits. Good habits often have delayed rewards, so add instant gratification through celebrations, visual cues, or habit tracking. Habit tracking helps build consistency, provides motivation, and makes progress visible. Don't aim for perfection, just aim to never miss twice. Social accountability through contracts or partners adds pressure and structure that make it easier to stay committed. By making habits satisfying in the short term, you give your brain a reason to keep repeating them. This part closes the loop of the habit cycle, reinforcing behavior through positive feedback. Summary of Part 6: Advanced Tactics. In this final section, James Clear goes beyond habit formation to explore how you can refine and optimize your habits over time. He focuses on genetics, motivation, mastery, and sustainability, helping you move from competence to excellence. Chapter 18: The Truth About Talent, When Genes Matter and When They Don't. Clear begins by addressing the role of genetics and natural ability. He acknowledges that talent and biological predispositions do play a role in performance. However, rather than seeing this as a limitation, he encourages aligning your habits with your natural strengths. This is the concept of finding a fit where your interests, personality, and environment match the habits you're trying to build. The key is to choose the right habits for you, not necessarily the most popular ones. For example, if you're naturally extroverted, social forms of exercise like group classes or sports are more likely to stick than solitary gym sessions. Success is easier when your habits work with your nature rather than against it. Chapter 19: The Goldilocks Rule, How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. Here, Clear introduces the Goldilocks Rule, which states that people experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are just beyond their current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy. This sweet spot helps maintain engagement and prevents boredom or burnout. To stay motivated, continually raise the challenge as you improve. Avoid overwhelming tasks that lead to failure. Don't repeat easy tasks that result in stagnation. Clear also explains that boredom is a key threat to habit consistency. Even high performers experience boredom but push through it. The difference between professionals and amateurs, he says, is that professionals show up consistently even when they don't feel like it. Chapter 20: The Downside of Creating Good Habits. The final chapter cautions against the rigidity that can come from deeply ingrained habits. Once a habit becomes automatic, it can lead to complacency or even mindlessness. To prevent this, Clear recommends building a system for review and reflection. Regular reflection allows you to adjust and improve your habits, avoid plateauing, continue growing rather than falling into autopilot. Clear also warns against identity becoming a trap. When habits are closely tied to identity, it can be hard to evolve. For example, Someone who strongly identifies as a runner may resist changing their routine even if it causes injury. Staying open to change is key to long-term adaptability and success. Key takeaways from Part 6. Choose habits that align with your personality and strengths to increase your chances of success. Use the Goldilocks rule to stay engaged. Keep tasks challenging but achievable. Consistency beats intensity. Successful people keep going, even when it gets boring. Regularly review and refine your habits to avoid stagnation. Don't let your identity become inflexible. Remain open to evolution and change. This final section encourages mastery through self-awareness, deliberate challenge, and long-term flexibility, rounding out the book's system for creating powerful, sustainable habits. If you found this summary helpful, drop a comment, and subscribe to Read It Brief for more quick book breakdowns. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.